like to share a story with you. When I got married, I went to Puerto Rico for my honeymoon.
Yeah.
And, and I had been to Puerto Rico a number of times. My husband had never been there. So we had decided to take a small tour that they would pick us up, from a tour bus would pick us up at the hotel, pick up other people at other hotels, short tour of San Juan, then we would go to the rainforest, and this would be followed by going to my Spanish isn't good, Luquello Beach, who's, Luquello?
Luquillo.
Okay, thank you. Whenever I say that, I'm going to point to you, because I butcher that, I know. So it sounded like a fun day, it sounded like a nice tour. When we signed up, it was clearly outlined, the three components, the time it started and the time it ended. So they told us we had to be ready at a certain time. I think it was 7:30 a.m. And they would pick us up at the hotel, and not to be late or we would lose our money. They were very clear about that. The time came the next day, we're out in front of the hotel, we had our coffee, the guy comes with the bus, we get in the bus, and there are a few other people with us. My ex-husband, we're divorced, we're still very good friends, we still laugh over this. However, it's an ignominy, I think, for many of the people that were with us that day. First of all, there was a group of young girls that got on the bus. Now again, 7:30 in the morning. When I was single and went to Puerto Rico, I wasn't taking tours at 7:30. I was taking the bus home back to the hotel with my cousins. So my husband and I get on the bus, and there's other people there, and these girls proceed quite vocally, quite openly, to discuss their sex life of the previous week. Their variety of numerous one-night stands that they've had on their vacation with explicit detail. And I'm no prude, and I wasn't even sure what they were talking about. So my husband and I are hysterical. We're like, this is going to be some trip. These girls are insane. They were nothing. We went to another hotel, picked some more people up. It was a fairly large tour bus. We went, we pick up another group of people, and a woman gets on the bus. Now remember, they were specific, be on time. The bus driver said, I'm supposed to have one more person. She said, oh, that's my husband, he decided he needed more coffee. Bus driver, unacceptable, he storms off the bus. Meanwhile, a gentleman comes out, like he has all the time in the world. Now you know when you're getting on a bus, you have the styrofoam coffee. This man actually had the china cup from the hotel and is milling around, and his wife proceeds to pound on the glass, screaming, tell him you're here, tell him you're here, you know, to the point that it was like the bus was actually shaking. Everyone was laughing at him. Okay. The bus driver comes out, they get in the bus. My husband's like, this woman's going to be a character. She's going to be, well, she was not the biggest character. We go and we take the bus ride, and we start with the tour of San Juan, and they're showing us different sites and everything you would expect on a tourist trip like that. And they were asking people, you know, if you have questions, what are your questions? So people are asking what you think they would. How big is the island? Are there any jobs here? Is the whole island as congested as San Juan? What else is there to see here? What you would expect. All of a sudden, Miss Tell Him You're Here says, I have a question. There's a new thing called crack in New York. Do they sell it here? And there was actually a couple on the bus with us who were from Greece on their honeymoon, and they were just burst out laughing. I mean, you couldn't even hide it. So the tour guide is like, well, you know, I don't know. It's the city. I'm sure we have the same things. Do you have a lot of alcoholics here? Because there's a lot of alcoholics in New York. And these were her questions. So we're like, okay. And we go and we finish with the portion of San Juan, and they take us through some beautiful areas before we get to the rainforest. And we stopped at like a lagoon, and there were some gentlemen fishing there. I'm sure this is all done for the tourists, basically with almost like a stick and string and how they're fishing, and we get out. Well, this one woman is like, oh, I know all about this. It's loaded with alligators. Nobody leave the bus. And it's like, alligator? I'm telling you, loaded with alligators, don't leave the bus. You people are insane. So, needless to say, we went out and there were no alligators. Then we get back on the bus, and I'm telling you, this is the truth. I really wish that Bob, my ex-husband, was here. Now we're driving, we're on almost to the rainforest, And this woman who's right up at the front turns to the bus driver and says, "They do voodoo here, don't they? This is a voodoo island." He's like, "Well, no, we don't." No, I know they believe in voodoo here. Should I be nervous about the voodoo? Then she proceeds to turn around to the bus and tell us, "I trust him because he looks like my brother Phil." And it says, "What's your name?" And the gentleman said what his name was. And then she kept insisting that must be Phil in Spanish, or I'm reversing that actually, but it must be Phil, the same name. And she's going on and on. Now we go to the rainforest, and it's absolutely beautiful. And for the whole tour, you're in the rainforest. Here's a tree in the rainforest. Here's a waterfall in the rainforest, making it completely clear. And again, Miss Tell 'em you're here turns around and says, "I paid a lot for this trip. When are we getting to that rainforest?" It's like, you've been in it for 45 minutes? Where do you think we were? So, rainforest was gorgeous. We now go to beach. And we get there, and they had told us that there would be places to change, you could picnic, you could do different things. This was made very clear. All of a sudden, another couple on the bus, they're like, well, unacceptable. We have a flight back to New York. We can't be here. You need to take us to the airport. And the bus driver's like, "I absolutely cannot do that. This is a paid tour. This is part of the tour. It was made clear to you the time of the tour, what we would be doing, when we would be doing it." And they went ballistic, and there was really nothing around. Somehow the bus driver called somebody that called somebody that called someone. 1988, no cell phones. And somehow got them a cab to the airport. And as they're getting in the cab, they're like, "Well, we think we should get a portion of our money back." And with that, my husband and I got on the bus and went back, and as I said, if you lived it, I think it was funnier. And to this day, he and I still talk about the collection of characters that we met on that trip. I will never forget them. So, thank you.